Every McLaren ever built explained Bruce's vision to a $20 million legacy. Today we're showing you every single model McLaren built as the brand evolved and gained popularity. The real story begins in 1963 with Bruce McLaren. He was a 26-year-old from New Zealand who wasn't just fast. This guy was an engineering genius. Bruce started racing when he was just 15 years old. By 20, he was already racing Formula 1 for Cooper. He became the youngest F1 race winner ever at age 22. But Bruce wasn't satisfied just driving other people's cars. While other teams were playing it safe, Bruce was already thinking carbon fiber and crazy aerodynamics. His first breakthrough was Formula 1, obviously. But get this, Bruce also dominated CanAm racing. These were unlimited sports cars with massive engines and zero rules. The McLaren M6A and M8 series were absolute monsters. Some had 740 horsepower from massive Chevy V8s. McLaren won 5 straight championships from 1967 to 1971. That's 5 straight championships. Bruce wasn't just fast, he was smart about business too. He sold customer versions of his race cars to fund the factory team. Other teams copied this model for decades. But here's where it gets nuts. Bruce McLaren died testing one of his own cars in 1970. He was only 32 years old. The M8D CanAm car he was testing had new aerodynamic bodywork. Something went wrong at 200 miles per hour at Goodwood, yet his team kept winning using what he built. That's not luck, that's pure engineering. Denny Hume won the 1968 F1 championship in a McLaren. The team Bruce built was that good. MP41. The real game changer came in 1981. Ron Dennis had taken over the team by then. He merged his Project 4 team with McLaren Racing. McLaren built the first Formula 1 car with a complete carbon fiber body. Everyone thought they were insane. Carbon fiber was expensive, untested, and nobody knew if it would survive a crash. John Barnard was the designer who made it happen. He had to convince suppliers to even try making the parts. Most said it was impossible. But McLaren's MP41 wasn't just lighter than everything else on the grid. It was actually safer. When other teams saw the results, they all copied McLaren's design. This became their thing. The MP42 came next with a TAG Porsche Turbo V6. Niki Lauda won the 1984 championship by half a point, the closest title fight ever at the time. Then Alain Prost won in 1985 with the same car. MP44. By 1988, McLaren had it figured out so well that they won 15 out of 16 races in a single season. 15 out of 16 races. The MP4 with Ayrton Senna and Alain Prost is still the most dominant race car ever built. The only race they lost was because Jean-Louis Schlesser crashed into Senna while being lapped. Honda supplied the turbocharged V6 engine. It made over 700 horsepower in qualifying trim. Senna and Prost finished first and second in the championship, but they hated each other by the end of the season. The rivalry between them defined F1 for years. But winning races wasn't enough. They wanted to build the ultimate road car. McLaren F1. Enter Gordon Murray. He was the same designer who created those championship F1 cars. Murray had a crazy idea about the perfect sports car. It had to seat 3 people with the driver in the center. It had to be naturally aspirated, not turbocharged. And it had to be the lightest, fastest car ever built. In 1992, he unveiled the McLaren F1. This thing broke every rule about supercars. First rule broken. The driver sat in the center with passengers on either side, like a fighter jet. Murray got the idea from sitting in a Brabham F1 car. Second rule broken. It used a naturally aspirated BMW V12 that screamed to 7,500 RPM. No turbos anywhere. BMW's Paul Rausch had designed the S72 engine specifically for the F1. It weighed just 586 pounds but made 618 horsepower. Third rule broken. The entire car weighed less than 2,500 pounds. Most supercars at the time weighed over 3,500 pounds. But here's what made the F1 special. Murray obsessed over every detail. The engine bay was lined with gold because it reflected heat better. Not for show, for function. The toolkit was titanium to save weight. It included custom wrenches made just for the F1. Even the stereo was custom made to weigh nothing. Kenwood built a special system that weighed just 8.8 pounds. The modern car radio weighed more than that. This wasn't just a fast car, this car was pure art. Every panel was hand-formed carbon fiber. The doors opened upward and forward. The seats were custom molded for each owner. When they tested top speed, the F1 hit 240.1 miles per hour. This was at Volkswagen's Arelesian test track in Germany. Andy Wallace was the test driver. He hit 240.1 miles per hour on the first run, then 240.14 miles per hour on the return run. It was the fastest production car ever. The record stood for over a decade. Only 106 road cars were made. Each one took 3.5 months to build by hand. Today they sell for over $20 million each. Every single one costs that much. Paul Walker owned chassis 044. Jerry Seinfeld has 3 of them. Rowan Atkinson crashed his twice and still kept it. Mercedes SLR McLaren. After the F1, McLaren went quiet on road cars for almost 10 years. They needed money to fund their F1 team. Ron Dennis made a deal with Mercedes. They partnered with Mercedes to build the SLR from 2003 to 2010. This was different. It was a front-engine luxury car that focused on comfort over pure speed. Mercedes wanted a competitor to the Ferrari 575M. McLaren wanted Mercedes engines for their F1 team. The deal made sense for both sides. The SLR made 617 horsepower from a supercharged 5.4-liter V8, but it weighed twice as much as the F1, 3,858 pounds compared to the F1's 2,341 pounds. It was fast, sure. 0 to 60 in 3.8 seconds and 208 miles per hour top speed, but it wasn't pure McLaren. The SLR had Mercedes luxury features McLaren would never use: automatic transmission, heavy leather seats, complex electronics. Still, they built 2,157 of them, including the crazy Stirling Moss Speedster with no windshield or roof, MP41C. Everything changed in 2010. Ron Dennis stepped back from day-to-day operations. McLaren Automotive launched as its own company focused only on road cars. Their first creation was the MP412C. This showed they'd learned some lessons. Instead of chasing top speed like the F1, they focused on what they call usable performance. The 12C made 607 horsepower from a twin-turbo V8. But more importantly, you could drive it every day. McLaren developed the M838T engine in-house. 3.8 liters, twin-turbo, flat-plane crank. It sounded like a racing engine because it basically was one. The 12C introduced McLaren's monocell carbon fiber chassis. This became the foundation for every McLaren since. Each monocell took 4 hours to cure in a massive autoclave. This wasn't just about weight. This was about creating a safety cage while letting the suspension work perfectly. The 12C weighed just 3,331 pounds. Compare that to a Ferrari 458 at 3,274 pounds. McLaren was right there with the best. McLaren P1. Then came the McLaren P1 in 2013. This was their first hybrid hypercar. Ron Dennis wanted to build a successor to the F1. It had to be faster around a track than any other road car. It combined a 727 horsepower twin-turbo V8 with a 176 horsepower electric motor for a total of 903 horsepower. The electric motor filled in the turbo lag completely. Instant throttle response at any RPM. The P1 could do 0 to 60 in 2.7 seconds and hit 217 miles per hour. But the real party trick was the active aerodynamics. The rear wing could adjust angle and height automatically. DRS mode dropped the wing for top speed runs. Race mode raised it for maximum downforce. Only 375 were built, and they all sold before production even started. Each one cost $1.15 million. McLaren test driver Chris Goodwin set the development target. Under 7 minutes around the Nürburgring, the P1 did it in 6:47. The P1 was the first road car to use McLaren's active aerodynamics and plug-in hybrid system. This tech came straight from their F1 program. Kerr's energy recovery from F1 became the P1's hybrid system. It was a preview of where supercars were heading. 650S. In 2014, McLaren replaced the 12C with the 650S. Same carbon chassis, but the 3.8-liter V8 now made 641 horsepower. It was basically a 12C with P1 styling and more power. The front end came straight from the P1. New suspension tuning made it sharper to drive. 675 LT. Then in 2015 came the 675 LT Longtail. This thing was serious. The LT name came from McLaren's F1 GTR Longtail race cars. Those cars dominated at Le Mans in the 1990s. The 675 LT made 666 horsepower and weighed 100 pounds less than the 650S. It had a longer body, bigger rear wing, and titanium exhaust. The exhaust note was absolutely insane. Only 500 coupes were built, plus 499 spiders. Track-focused, but still street-legal. You could drive it to the track, run lap times, then drive home. McLaren then did something smart. Instead of one flagship model, they created 3 series. Sports Series for daily driving, Super Series for pure speed, and Ultimate Series for limited hypercars. Sports Series 570S. The Sports Series started with the 570S in 2015. This was McLaren's entry-level car with 570 horsepower from a detuned version of their twin-turbo V8. It did 0 to 60 in 3.2 seconds, but was comfortable enough for daily use. The 570S used a new monocell 2 chassis, lighter and stiffer than the original 12C tub. The 570S came in different flavors. The 570 GT had more luggage space for touring, 150 liters in front, 220 liters in back. You could actually take a road trip in one. The 540C was even more basic, steel springs instead of adaptive dampers. Still 533 horsepower though. 600 LT. But the wild one was the 600 LT in 2018. This made 592 horsepower, weighed just 2,749 pounds, and could do 0 to 60 in 2.9 seconds. The 600 LT had racing-inspired titanium exhausts and an extended body. The exhausts exited right behind the doors. They would literally shoot flames on hard acceleration. The top-mounted air intake looked like a shark fin. 620R. Then came the 620R in 2019. This was basically a road-legal race car with 612 horsepower and massive aerodynamics that created 185 kilograms of downforce at 155 miles per hour. Only 225 were built. The 620R had a full roll cage and racing seats. You could remove the interior panels to save even more weight. It came with track-only slick tires as an option. 720S. In 2017, McLaren replaced the 650S with the all-new 720S. Built on a new monocage 2 carbon chassis. It used a 4.0-liter V8 making 710 horsepower. The M840T engine was completely new. Bigger displacement, new turbos, more power. The 720S could do 0 to 60 in 2.8 seconds and hit 212 miles per hour. But the engineering was next level. The suspension could read the road and adjust each shock individually. Proactive chassis controlled 2 used cameras to scan the road ahead. The aerodynamics changed automatically. Active everything. The doors were works of art by themselves. They cut into the roof for easier entry and exit. 765 LT. Then came the 765 LT in 2020. Based on the 720S, but with 755 horsepower and 176 pounds less weight. Only 765 were built. The 765 LT deleted the rear seats completely. Carbon fiber everywhere to save weight. Even the anti-roll bars were titanium. 750S. In 2023, McLaren quietly updated the 720S to the 750S with 750 horsepower and improved aerodynamics. New front splitter, revised rear wing, updated software. McLaren GT. McLaren also built the GT in 2019. This was their luxury Grand Tour with 612 horsepower and actual luggage space. It had a glass rear deck and was designed for long-distance comfort. The GT could do 400 miles between gas stops. Adaptive cruise control, navigation, heated seats, stuff McLaren never bothered with before. McLaren GTS. In 2023, they replaced it with the GTS making 626 horsepower. But McLaren's Ultimate Series cars are where things get absolutely insane. McLaren Senna. The Senna launched in 2018. Named after their greatest F1 driver, it had one goal: be the fastest car possible around a track. Ayrton Senna won 41 races for McLaren. 3 world championships in McLaren cars. He died at Imola in 1994, still driving for them. It made 789 horsepower, weighed just 3,030 pounds, and created 1,700 pounds of downforce. The Senna's body was pure function over form. Every surface was designed to move air. McLaren removed the stereo, used thinner glass, and drilled holes in the brake pedal to save weight. The carbon fiber seats were fixed in place. You adjusted the pedals and steering wheel to fit. Only 500 were built at over $1 million each. Bruno Senna, Ayrton's nephew, helped develop the car. McLaren Speedtail. Then came the Speedtail in 2019. It was a 3-seat hybrid hypercar that made 1,036 horsepower and could hit 250 miles per hour. Like the original F1, the driver sat in the center. 2 passengers flanked the driver at slightly different heights. But this used hybrid tech straight from F1 to eliminate turbo lag completely. The Speedtail was 17 feet long, longer than a Rolls-Royce Phantom. The body was designed entirely for aerodynamics. Cameras replaced the side mirrors. Only 106 were built. Same number as the original F1. Each one cost $2.2 million. McLaren Elva. The Elva came next in 2020. This was completely nuts. It was an open cockpit car with no windshield. Based on the Senna, it made 815 horsepower and weighed just 2,798 pounds. It was inspired by Bruce McLaren's 1960s Can-Am cars, the M1A, M1B, and M1C Elva sports cars. Bruce built those cars to compete in SCCA racing. Only 399 were planned. The Elva used active aerodynamics to create an air bubble around the cockpit. No helmet required at normal speeds. Though you probably wanted one anyway. McLaren Saber. The Saber was a 2023 US-only special. Just 15 were built with 824 horsepower and unique bodywork, including a shark fin and LMP1 style wing. All went to American customers through McLaren Special Operations. MSO is McLaren's custom division. They'll build whatever you want if you have enough money. The Saber used a modified 765 LT chassis. Each one was completely unique, different colors, different interiors, different aero packages. McLaren Solless GT. The wildest of all is the Solless GT from 2023. This is a track-only single-seater with a 5.2-liter naturally aspirated V10, making 840 horsepower. It weighs just 2,200 pounds and has a 10,000 RPM redline. The V10 came from Judd, the British engine builder, same company that made engines for F1 teams in the 1990s. Only 25 were built at over $3 million each. Each Solless GT came with a custom racing seat molded for the owner. Professional driver training was included. You needed it to drive this thing safely. McLaren Artura. McLaren's newest road car is the Artura from 2022. This shows where they're headed. It uses a completely new 3.0-liter twin-turbo V6 hybrid, making 671 horsepower while being their cleanest car ever. The V6 replaced McLaren's traditional V8. Smaller displacement, more efficient, still incredibly powerful. It can drive on electric power alone for 11 miles. Perfect for driving through city centers with emissions restrictions, but still does 0 to 60 in under 3 seconds when you want performance. The Artura uses McLaren's new McLaren carbon lightweight architecture, even more advanced than the monocell systems. Meanwhile, McLaren's F1 team just won the 2024 Constructors' Championship, their first title since 1998. Lando Norris and Oscar Piastri drove brilliantly all season. The MCL38 car was a rocket ship. The same carbon fiber tech, aerodynamics, and hybrid systems flow straight from F1 into road cars. McLaren is one of only 3 teams to win over 180 F1 races, 12 Drivers' Championships, 9 Constructors' Championships, second only to Ferrari in total wins, McLaren W1. But McLaren saved the absolute best for last. In 2024, they unveiled the W1. This isn't just another hypercar. This is the third car in McLaren's legendary 1 series, the spiritual successor to the F1 and P1. The W1 represents 60 years of McLaren's racing DNA distilled into one ultimate machine. Under the carbon fiber body sits a completely reimagined hybrid powertrain. The 4.0-liter twin-turbo V8 has been pushed to its absolute limits. Combined with McLaren's most advanced electric motor system, it produces a staggering 1,258 horsepower. That's more power than a Bugatti Chiron. More power than any McLaren has ever made. The W1 can rocket from 0 to 60 miles per hour in just 2.7 seconds. Its top speed hits 217 miles per hour, but raw speed was never the only goal. This car was designed to be the fastest McLaren around any racetrack. The aerodynamics are absolutely insane. The rear wing is massive and fully active. It can adjust automatically for maximum downforce or minimum drag. The front splitter channels air with surgical precision. Every surface moves air exactly where McLaren wants it. Only 399 W1s will ever be built. The exact same number as the P1. Each one costs $2.6 million, and every single one sold out before McLaren even showed the car publicly. The W1 uses McLaren's most advanced carbon fiber chassis yet. It's lighter and stiffer than anything they've built before. The suspension reads the road ahead and adjusts in milliseconds. The brakes are carbon ceramic monsters designed for repeated track abuse. This car represents everything McLaren learned from Formula 1. The hybrid system comes straight from their championship-winning race cars. The aerodynamics were developed in the same wind tunnel as their F1 cars. Even the carbon fiber techniques come from their racing program. The W1 is McLaren's statement to the world. After 60 years of racing in road cars, this is their masterpiece. The ultimate expression of what happens when you never stop pushing the limits. Would you ever want to drive a McLaren? Let us know in the comments why you would want to. We want to know if you'd like to feel that F1 technology yourself. If you enjoyed this video, like and subscribe for more car breakdowns. See you in the next video.